Hey, everyone. The great Dr. Kennard. I'm just going to say the great guy. Yeah, we have the great. I'm sorry, Sammy. Say that again.
The great atheismo.
The great atheismo. Thank you. Love the name. Grand Farmer, John Hudson, Simply Secular Dave. I'm glad that you're all here, gentlemen.
Oh, it's good to be here. I'm glad you made it after your exciting weekend of frolicking and over-exuberance.
There was over-exuberance, and then there were moments that I'm looking at my girlfriend and said, I don't think I should text this. Do you think I should text this? Well,
you were using the girlfriend filter?
Yes. It's like, if I text this, I think my basic message, which isn't crazy, is going to be adulterated by some of the anger. And so it's like, we'll just cut off that last sentence and then send the message. And everything worked out, Yeah.
Girlfriends are great for telling you, no, you don't need 7 exclamation points.
For those of us who've been brought up in dysfunctional systems, it's easy to go back to form, right? When under stress or pressure. And I need a spotter.
I catch myself writing in all caps and like 10 exclamation points.
Oh, I see you. I see you on Facebook, John Hudson. I know what you're up to.
I'm constantly yelling. It's because I can't hear. That's the only reason I yell.
Yeah, I understand.
Hey, Andy, to circle back to your story about the church burnings, the incinerations or the incinerati or whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
Yesterday, the Catholic Church agreed in Canada to release their records of which children were at which residential schools in Canada.
Wow.
Yesterday.
It only took fucking 4 churches to burn to the ground.
Yesterday they did. Like, this has been known about for 60 years. Like, the big secret about children being abused has been known about for 25, 35 years.
I'd like to see them investigate America too on that.
Well, the question is, how many? Now, it's some kind of algorithm, some kind of math problem. If it takes 4 churches for them to do that, how many churches will it take to be burned down for them to come clean about all the child fuckery that's been going on?
Now, I'm not saying I encourage that sort of behavior, but that's an interesting
42.
number, and I'd like to see it.
42, very nice. All right. We have a video here of Matt Gates that the great atheismo wants to share with us, and so here it is. So Sammy, you want to tell everyone what's going on here?
So this is Matt Gates directing a question to a general in regards to different problems with the army. He mentioned that the soldiers complained that their supplies were taking too long to get to them and this and that. But his main issue was that the soldiers that he spoke to were complaining that they are having issue with having to use certain terminology and different woke things. And he puts this question to a general, and this colonel chimes in and says, I want to answer, but he doesn't want him to answer and tries to worm out of it. And that's where it's starting. So I'll press play from there.
Challenge. When Ms. Hartzler was asking questions, how should the Department of Defense think about critical race theory?
Could I make a comment, Secretary? I'm sorry.
Well, I'm very limited on my time, General Mills.
Well, I just want to make a comment. The feedback
I know, but
I've
asked the question to Secretary Austin.
I don't know what the issue of critical race theory is and what the relevance here with the department. We do not teach critical race theory. We don't embrace critical race theory. And I think that's a spurious conversation. And so we are focused on extremist behaviors, and not ideology, not people's thoughts, not people's political orientation, behaviors is what we're focused on.
I would like to yield some of my time to General Milley because I know that he had some comments that he wanted to make when Representative Gates was talking, as well as Mr. Waltz, about a similar subject of the stand down and race theory. Would you like a minute or so to comment on that? Do you remember what your line of questioning or thought was there?
Sure. First of all, on the issue of critical race theory, et cetera, I'll obviously have to get much smarter on whatever the theory is. But I do think it's important, actually, for those of us in uniform to be open-minded and be widely read. And the United States Military Academy is a university. And it is important that we train and we understand. And I want to understand white rage, and I'm white, and I want to understand it. So what is it that caused thousands of people to assault this building and try to overturn the Constitution of the United States of America? What caused that? I want to find that out. I want to maintain an open mind here, and I do want to analyze it. It's important that we understand that because our soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, and Guardians, they come from the American people. So it is important that the leaders, now and in the future, do understand it. I've read Mao Zedong. I've read Karl Marx. I've read Lenin. That doesn't make me a communist. So what is wrong with understanding, having some situational understanding about the country for which we are here to defend? And I personally find it offensive that we are accusing the United States military, our general officers, our commissioned, non-commissioned officers of being, quote, woke or something else because we're studying some theories that are out there. That was started at Harvard Law School years ago, and it proposed that there were laws in the United States, antebellum laws prior to the Civil War, that led to a power differential with African Americans that were 3/4 of a human being when this country was formed. And then we had a Civil War and Emancipation Proclamation to change it. And we brought it up to the Civil Rights Act in 1964. It took another 100 years to change that. So look I do want to know. And I respect your service, and you and I are both Green Berets, but I want to know. And it matters to our military and the discipline and cohesion of this military. And I thank you for the opportunity to make a comment on that.
Wow. Very mic drop moment right there.
Just love how the camera goes onto Matt's face.
I hate that face.
So much, eh?
Yeah.
God, I hate that
To
face.
see him listening to what's being said and sitting there shaking his head,
Yeah.
you just know how disconnected from reality he is, right?
Smug little bitch.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's not, well, the situation he found himself in, he wasn't on Fox News where you could just yell over the next person he doesn't agree with. He had to sit there and fucking take it. And that's joyous. That's joyous to see.
I thought so. And you can see how little understanding I have of American politics. So it was a general, not a colonel. But you got the gist.
Yeah, exactly.
4-star brigadier, it looked like.
Mm.
I knew what you were saying in general.
Yeah. Yeah. What I got when you were explaining it was that, Matt Gaetz is going to be exposed as the idiot that he is. And his Fox News talking points going to be blown up by someone who has a brain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was great to watch.
Yeah. Yeah. I love the comment that just because I read Lenin, just because I read Mao Zedong doesn't make me a communist. That's insightful. That's insightful. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you remember during the Iraq War?
Which one? The second one?
I believe it was the first one.
Okay, old school. All right, old school.
They were talking about when they were taking prisoners and they put them in their personnel carrier. And the German soldier asked him, why do you have a picture of this famous German general famously invented the Blitzkrieg attack?
Yeah, it's either probably Guderian or Hans Guderian is the guy who wrote basically a very popular book on that topic. Yeah.
It was. I don't think it was him, but it was. I can't remember the name off the top of my head. And he said, "Why do you have a picture of one of your greatest adversaries in here?" And the guy in charge of that piece of equipment looked at him and said, "Maybe if you'd studied history and war a little more, you guys wouldn't be sitting in the back of my personnel carrier."
Ooh.
I dated Rudolf Hess's niece.
You did not.
I did too.
You did.
Yes,
Wow.
I did.
Okay. John Hudson.
Yes, I
I
did.
cannot believe that you have been on the show so many effing times. You are very the lead.
You know what? She's the one I wish I wouldn't have get away. Just such a sweet girl. Cindy Hess is her name, and went to kindergarten with her, and she got married after high school, and it was like in my 40s I was dating her.
Okay, so just review for everyone who Rudolf Hess was.
He was SS Nazi for Hitler during World War II.
I'm not going to lie to you. I know someone who's dating the grandson of Heinrich Himmler. And the guy still goes by the name Himmler too. Because you would think that you would change your last name. I would change my last name if it was like by like a famous Nazi.
Right.
And yeah. So since she was the one who got away, huh?
Yeah, I mean, dude, she was wonderful. Just took really good care of me, and I didn't want to date her because she was a grandma.
Hmm.
You know, that was my big issue about that. And you know, being a grandpa is the fucking greatest thing in my life. It's what I like doing. I mean, if I would have had any idea.
So just to Rudolf Hess, he was the second in command. Well, he was the second after Hitler in the Nazi Party, and he did this crazy thing. Is that he flew a plane over to Scotland in 1941 to try to have a negotiated settlement to World War II, where he got caught, of course, by the Brits. I mean, he was going to the Brits to negotiate with them, unbeknownst to Hitler. And he spent the rest of the war and the rest of his life in prison for all intents and purposes. So when you're on a date, when do they tell you, John Hudson?
I knew her since kindergarten.
Oh,
and
okay.
I did not know that she was Rudolph's niece till I was dating her in my 40s.
Okay. Interesting.
But I knew her my whole life. So
Was Erwin Rommel? Yes. He was one of the glamour generals of
tank commander.
Yeah, and of course he was in a plot to an attempted assassination plot against Hitler.
Was that part of that movie?
What was it, Valkyrie? You're talking about?
Yeah.
I am not sure. I've never seen Valkyrie. To tell you the truth, I'll make my confession.
You're a history buff.
Yeah, but you know, I know that the reason why Hitler lived through the bombing, because what happened is that there was a bomb placed underneath this very large oak table.
Yeah.
And the expectation was the bomb would go off and Hitler would die. But this huge oak table basically saved Hitler's life. It shielded him from the blast. So he still had a bad arm afterwards. But yeah. Rommel was part of that.
Hey, Andy, what time do you have to cut it short today? Are you good for an hour, or are we doing?
I'm good for a full hour today, to tell you the truth, so we can talk about whatever. My grandfather was part of the SS Youth. Wow. My last name is not really my last name. That's interesting, Sammy.
I know a number of people who when their parents were a part of the Hitler Youth, it was not optional.
No, it wasn't.
And whether they liked it or not, whether they were a part of it, whether there were parts of it that they liked or not, whether they were there to support their friends or whatever, they had no choice. It was like you were literally shaming your family to the government and to the very bad people who shot a lot of people, and you just wouldn't risk it. Like they were part of the Hitler Youth just because everyone was, and you had to survive.
Just to clarify it too, people in the SS, for example, that was an all-volunteer corps. You know, like the U.S. Marines. Oh, I don't want to compare the two, but the SS, you had to be basically, you wanted to go, you fit the requirements, and but you're right, Dave. The Hitler Youth, they were just conscripted for all intents and purposes.
I kind of felt like under Trump, we was heading into that type of regime. You know, as radical as people were being with that and shit. It's a good thing they set that down a little bit.
Yeah. What were you going to say, Sammy?
I don't know if this says anything about me, but my grandfather, he was an orphan, and he actually wanted to join and was too young. And this might have been before the SS Youth, so there was nothing for him to join. They actually put him to work on a galley on a ship.
Oh,
As a child.
interesting.
Yeah, so he had a pretty wild childhood. And he was actually taken prisoner by the French. He was still so young, he was put to work on a farmer's property and ended up marrying the farmer's daughter.
Interesting.
And they eloped, she's my grandmother.
Wow.
And they escaped to Australia, bribed a politician or something to get out, because there was still conscription. Even France had conscription, and just the things that he went through and saw, he didn't want his sons to have to go to war at all. So he upped and brought him to Australia. And the story he tells about the last name, and I don't know how much truth is to it, is that on the boat over, they just were asked their name, and it was written down, and with his strong accent and whatnot, they just wrote something down and he went with it.
Sure. I can see that.
Yeah, and my father and his brothers have tried to track down what our real name was and things, but they've even gone to Germany, and it's just so tight-lipped.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody wants to talk about that time.
I can see that.
Yeah, we don't know what our real last name actually is.
So the girlfriend asks, your last name is not Jenkins?
No, unfortunately, it's not.
So this is interesting. Jesse Bear found out some stats. 30% of active duty and 25% of Guard reserves are minorities.
Yeah.
About 40% of the overall U.S. population are considered minorities. Interesting. You know, it's interesting to point out, too, is that the U.S. military wasn't integrated during World War II. So it was still, there was a white military and a black military for all intents and purposes. The races didn't mix. And it wasn't until Harry Truman did an executive order that the military got integrated for all intents and purposes.
Yeah, I remember being on the base at Oak Harbor, Washington, and meeting guys from like Biloxi, Mississippi, and from all over the place, because they serve in different bases in different capacities. But in the Navy, there's definitely a difference at certain bases that you go to in certain regions have a different dynamic as far as ethnicity goes. But when you're out in places like, Washington State, you get to meet people from everywhere. There's just such a mixture of people out there. And you hear somebody talking and you're like, I can't place that accent. Where are you from? Oh, I'm from Kentucky. Which is pretty cool.
Oh, yeah.
One of the better things about the military.
True enough.
So I wanted to share, I don't know, we're not at the halftime tummy rub section yet.
Oh, yes. So what do you got there?
I wanted to share a cute picture with y'all. I threw that out.
Rub our tummies, Dave.
I came home from work the other day, and every single strawberry in my garden was gone. And my landlord had been here because they had moved around some garbage cans and done some stuff here. And I thought, did that SOB go out to my garden and pick every single strawberry out of my garden? What the hell? Strawberries
are delicate things too. They're difficult, aren't they? They have to have just the right amount of shade, just the right amount of sunlight.
Not out here. I guess our climate is pretty conducive to growing strawberries wherever you want to stick them in the ground.
Wow, damn you Canadians.
So I'm out there watering the garden last night, and I hear rustle in the garden, and I'm like, wow, that's not normal. And This little bastard pops out.
Yeah. All right, let's check him out. Oh, the rabbit, Peter Rabbit.
Yeah, so he's escaped from somebody's bunny hutch because he
Yep.
doesn't look like a wild rabbit, and he's they're built a little differently than other rabbits. They only
No, he's gorgeous.
So yeah, then there's two more guarding the gate outside.
they're running interference for him.
So I'm like, well, my strawberries have no chance against 3 bunnies. And believe me, if you try to catch these things, they move like lightning across the ground, and they turn on a dime. They're super fast. I'll never catch them.
So were you thinking there's lunch and dinner?
They're not big enough because they're domestic bunnies. They're about a half the size of a bunny that we would find outside in the woods.
Yeah, and a good for stew.
They're maybe good for a pair of slippers, but that's about it. Oh, they're super soft. Don't get me wrong; they're cuddly. But yeah, they're. I'm either gonna have to put up a fence or resign myself to feeding bunny rabbits for a living here.
You know, my dad had my adopted dad. Who I grew up with. He had strawberries, and he had this kind of wire mesh over the strawberries so that the local rabbit population or critters wouldn't get into them. It's going to be effective.
We call it chicken wire up here, but yeah. But I don't know if I want to hard point or reinforce my garden.
Well, you're looking for a new place too, Dave. You're still.
Well, I'm still open to options. Yeah.
Oh, you're open to options. All right.
Yeah.
What's up, dragons?
Yeah. So yeah, it's unlikely that I'm going to get any strawberries out of my garden if these guys are hopping the fence.
Yes. Yeah. Your strawberries don't have a chance.
Yeah. But at least the blueberries are up off the ground. But the birds that's the thing. The birds used to get the strawberries too, but they made it for chickens.
Well, Clockwork Rex has a good idea. How about landmines? Have you thought about landmines?
I would love to do like cream puff landmines. That would be great because it would just startle them, get them away, sort of thing. Yeah. That would be great.
The thing is, they know where the strawberries are, Dave, so they will be swarming that area.
Well, they're not out there right now. I just went and looked when I grabbed my coffee. They're not out there this morning, but maybe I should show you if I can pull this up real quick.
All right.
That is today.
Really, John Hudson with strawberry stuffing.
Yeah, this is our.
Here we go.
This is our weather page for today, for this afternoon.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen it this hot in the Lower Mainland here in at least a decade, probably 2. The last time I remember it being this hot was like 1984, 85. And I was working at the amusement park back then, and they brought around salt pills and jugs of water, and they had the first aid attendant watch you drink the water with the salt pill because it was so hot.
Wow.
But I've worked the last 4 days in a row because it's so hot. Most of the regular people who work at who are longshoring, they understand you're going to get sunburned, you're going to get dehydrated. It's going to be a long, hard day in the heat. Yeah. And they're like, well, I'll just take a couple of days off while it's scorching, right? So I actually had to take today off because I've worked so much lately. I had to take today off and get some stuff done.
Yeah. Well, I get these messages from Dave about it being 104 degrees out, and working. It's like I remember getting heat stroke from working in a kitchen during the summer, and that was brutal. I don't know how you do it out there, Dave.
Well, like I said, they have the first aid attendant on at the dock bring around water bottles for you every couple of hours. They give you a break, and they emphasize with everyone, like, if you're feeling unwell, if you have a dizzy spell, if you get vertigo, anything like that, you just tell your foreman, and you go to the lunchroom, sit in the air conditioning, and drink some water until you feel better.
Yeah.
And they're very, very, very careful about, like, the job we do is difficult and dangerous under ideal circumstances. If you have a truck driver sweating into their eyes because their air conditioning failed, and you have a guy with vertigo on the dock, and you have people who are exhaustedly tired and thirsty and having a difficult time walking around, you are just asking for an accident. So it's not just whenever something goes wrong in a situation like this, whether you're mining or forestry or longshoring, it's always a combination of multiple things. A mechanical failure, somebody who wasn't aware of something, somebody who forgot to check something. It's a combination. So you have to do everything you can to make sure that every single component of that is checked and double checked, right? And taken care of. So.
Tobin says in the chat that there is a sprinkler head that is motion sensitive that can, keep the bunnies away. I did not know about that.
Yeah, there is. I never thought of that, but that's a great idea. And I do have, obviously, I have a sprinkler in the backyard. So
sure. And Dragon says rabbits are destroying my blueberries, fig trees, and grapes. How to use chicken wire? Yeah, until the plants got bigger. Sure.
Yeah, until they're high enough off the ground. But I've got a picture of this little bunny. I was going to say the other B word, but I've got a picture of them standing up, and they're damn near 1.5 feet tall. Those, like, their back legs are really long. So if they want to stand up and grab something, you need a couple of feet of chicken wire around here.
Oh, interesting. So I see that Sammy, you got something you want to share too, brother. I'm going to throw that up.
Yeah, a little bit of a rummy tub.
Gates denies being a complete douchebag. No one believes him.
I do not refer to myself in the third person during my morning pep talks in the mirror. Public remains unconvinced, citing much evidence to the contrary.
Oh, much evidence. Much evidence. Indeed. That's beautiful. Dragon says, I have a live trap, been catching and relocating squirrels. Oh, no, that sounds like a Sisyphusian labor.
No, my sister does that too. She won't kill them. She has squirrels and chipmunks, and most of the chipmunks in the area most of them are, I think they're gray squirrels are the invasive ones that aren't from here. And they trap them and they take them to the other side of town and release them in a huge wildlife park. But they actually have one of those metal live traps for rodents. I guess I could do that, but I'd hate to separate the family, like, bunnies and that whole bunny love thing. Like, I'd feel bad about abducting one of them and not relocating them together.
Well, what seems to be the greatest crime here is that the critters take one bite and then drop it and grab another.
The birds are the worst for that. Yeah, they'll peck a hole in one piece of fruit and then go to another branch and peck a hole in another piece of fruit and move around. Yeah.
Fussy buggers.
You have to wonder how. Oh, here it is. The girlfriend. My dad used to trap squirrels and release them at the campus at his work. That's interesting.
Yeah.
That sounds like some kind of passive aggressiveness towards your workplace, though.
Now, there is. Well, you guys know about the whole bald eagle situation, right? Like, we have more of them than we know what to do with. They fly around the dock all day. Like, they're down catching fish up here. They're out in the fields. They're patrolling the farms and killing all the rats and the rodents and the voles and the moles and all that stuff. We've got bald eagles everywhere, and our downtown is full of red-tailed hawks.
Oh, wow.
And they keep the pigeon or the rock dove population down.
Sure.
And yeah, I kind of wonder if my sister's plan is actually safely relocating the squirrels to the wildlife refuge, or whether she's just feeding the eagles.
Right. Tesla Ranger says, Dave, I can imagine someone from the other side of town trapping squirrels and relocating them on your side.
Well, I'm very close to a place called Delta Watershed Park. And there's a big, beautiful park that has a bike and a hiking trail through it that's not too far from here. but there's a lot of traffic between here and there. So I think if I relocated them there, although that forest is full of owls.
Oh, yeah.
And owls also dine on squirrels and bunnies. So nature's way.
There has to be some kind of trolley experiment about squirrels and owls out there.
What do you mean?
Well, you know, the trolley experiment, right? You know, you say,
Oh,
you know,
right.
I was thinking about that already. I've already solved it.
Oh.
Squirrels win every time. You'll get the odd outlier. Yeah, I know. We're a weird bunch, so we would probably all pick the fucking owl because we just like to be different. But the majority would pick squirrels and save the little squirrels because they're cute.
Yeah. Yeah. I think
It comes down to the cuteness level.
I think the furry squirrel will, you know, if you have a choice, of course. The trolley experiment, for those of you who don't know, it's one of those morality.
So, explain the trolley experiment using squirrels.
Okay, so in theory, from what I understand, if the great atheismo, I have so much fucking trouble with that, Jared.
Atheismo.
If I understand the great atheismo correctly, the trolley experiment. Let me back up. The trolley experiment, for those of you who don't know, it's a thought experiment, right? And it's to basically help you understand, or for us to understand, how people come to moral decisions, right? The decision-making process for morality. And so you are at a track and it bifurcates. It goes into two different tracks. A train is coming down the line, and on one track you have, let's say, a person trapped and strapped to the rails, and on the other line you have 5 people strapped to the rails, and your choice is to which rail you're going to send the train down. So in this experiment, you would have one squirrel, or the equal amount of squirrels and owls on each of the rail lines, and you get to choose.
Let's say 3 squirrels versus 1 owl.
Oh well, the owls.
Interesting. And see, that's what they tweak little parts of it. So they'll say, the one is someone that you know. Now what do you do? Because, you know, people would like to say, I'll take the one and save the many.
Just because I know.
What if it's your child? Would you then save the one over the many?
Yeah, I was going to say, just because I know somebody doesn't make them worth saving.
Well, the interesting thing is, someone did this experiment, and they had people come to a rail yard for whatever reason, something technical, and they bring them into this little portable room that's like a headquarters, and it's got big screens everywhere and buttons, and he's like, yeah, I'll get you to fix they're there to fix the phone or something. And he's like, the phone's over there. All my job is, and explains what his job is to direct the line, direct the train on the line, and basic trolley situation. And there's a button to press to either switch the track or don't switch the track. So in this situation, someone's going to die. You just either have to do something or do nothing. And in every single situation, they just freeze and do nothing. And they change it up, and they put the 5 people as the option to do nothing. And they'll kill the 5 people because they just can't act.
Because that's the human default position, is don't take an action that's going to hurt someone else, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So the whole thing, it's an interesting thought experiment, but it means nothing in reality.
What I've seen, or how I understand it, is that people will make one decision, and then they'll change their opinion if they're the ones who have to pull the lever themselves. So in other words, they'll be like, oh, if someone else is there to pull the lever, then they should definitely do this. But when they actually feel like they have to do the physical pulling of the lever and send people to their deaths, it's a different thing altogether. So I'm gonna see if I can share this video that Dragons in Genesis put in here.
I was just going to watch that, so yeah.
Yeah, dude, it's hilarious actually. And I don't know if I can actually. Can one of you guys do this while I'm just like managing? I don't think.
Let me see if I can pull it up here. Where'd it
Yeah,
go?
you can pull it up and then share the screen. That'd be great.
It was Vsauce, was it, Tobin? I'm gonna go and rewatch that.
How do I have to? Hang on, are we doing a commercial? Oh no, it's a little kid. Okay, hang on.
Yeah, it's only like a 26-second long video. It's magic.
How do I share video and audio? Just share the screen and then.
Yeah, just do share screen.
Do I have to mute? I can mute my. Hang on.
I got an anticipation now. Well, it's interesting that you should say that, Theo.
There you go. I've shared it if you need it.
Okay, we'll do that. So here it is. I'm going to add this to the stream. It is funny, everyone.
Just take it back.
Take it back. Take it back. There you go.
Okay.
And that boy would someday grow up to be Matt Gaetz.
I think that's what Paul Kamish wrote.
Oh, Paul Kamish.
Paul did say that. I didn't want to read it before we saw the video, mind you. I didn't want to read it before we saw the video, but that's what totally Mr. Kamish was saying there. Paul, it's good to see you, Paul. What do you got, Dave? Oh, that's the rabbit, the strawberry.
No, I was sharing the video, but yeah.
Okay. So, that was a really funny video. Thanks, Dragons of Genesis. Yeah. Interesting. I didn't, they did the trolley problem in The Good Place. Lots of I've heard really good things about The Good Place.
You know what? I liked most of it. There was some great moments in it, but it wasn't as great as the reviewers said it was for me. But the trolley episode, I could watch every day.
Interesting. Now I want to go see it. We the girlfriend and I were still going through the Louis C.K. mini series, basically Horace and Pete. But I wouldn't mind like binging through The Good Place too at some point.
There's just so much good things to watch. Like you'll never catch up with all the atheist content, and you'll never catch up with all the series that you ever wanted to watch. You just have to pick stuff, go through, and
it's like being in grad school. It's like my limited exposure to grad school is that you get the reading list, and then you look at it, and it's like, well, I got to figure out what they actually want me to read, or what's important enough to read, because there's no way I'm going through this entire reading list. When I was taking a class with I'll say the name, Jordan Peterson. He's like, am I going to read the Gulag Archipelago from cover to cover? I don't think I am. I'm not going to read this book on Russian urology cover to cover, and I'm certainly not going to be reading the Gulag Archipelago cover to cover to get the relevant pieces of information I need out of it.
Yeah, you gotta, there's only so many hours in the day. There's only so much time in your life, and you have a girlfriend, so you have to watch stuff that the girlfriend will actually enjoy too. And
yes,
yeah,
and
you have children's.
Well, there are children. There's and also there's the it's trying to stay up to date with comedy, as well as trying to stay up to date with everything else, and that's a lot to cover. That's a lot to cover.
So there's a trolley scenario with comedy and family.
there is, there is, and I think a lot of comedians will tell you there is, and we all know who we choose.
Well, let me just say that you're here with us now.
I am here with you now. Yeah. Well, I gotta tell you, the Punisher Clockwork Rex, that was two. Yeah, that was incredible. It was brutal series. But I'm looking forward to Loki too. Loki only has 3 more episodes left, dropping on Wednesday.
I haven't started watching that yet, so no spoilers.
Oh no! I will. Well, that's the trouble. right? That's the trouble about talking about shows that are current, is that you don't want to do spoilers.
Good Lord.
Dragons and Genesis says, hit the 5, reduce the carbon footprint.
Yeah.
Wise words. I really liked out of that video of the kid solving the trolley problem is that it was a Thomas the Tank Engine, and I don't know if anyone has like young kids, but those early Thomas the Tank Engine, they were kind of brutal.
Oh yeah, they're now like cast iron, Andy. They're worse.
Oh yeah. There's one episode of Thomas the Tank Engine where he sees a couple of kids and he's like looking for revenge. He's like, I'm gonna pay them out. It's like, wow, Thomas the Tank Engine getting real. Oh, man.
So what's going on that's new and exciting in your week there, Andy? You got any plans to like dye the cat orange or anything, or
not dyeing the cat oranger, but I've been, as if you've been checking out the channel with these small little with these small bits I'm doing, I am exploring editing and also cheap tricks to make videos look better, while still being really cheap. Yeah. And so the girlfriend and I sat down and watched it was an analysis of how Bo Burnham did his recent comedy special, which he DIY'd it completely. And it's like, I can do a lot of that on the cheap. And so this is going to be an exploration of, and if, like I said, if you look at the last 2 videos I uploaded, very simple editing techniques, and I'm going to be expanding on that. And so I've been thinking about editing amongst all the other crap that I have going on.
Yeah. Well, if you're going to make videos, you got to pick up a little editing skill, a little graphic design skill, a little publishing skill, a little bit of stuff. Yeah.
And, what I'm not going to be doing is buying a $4,000 camera. I can tell you that right now.
No, you absolutely don't need that.
Yeah, I don't need a $4,000 camera. What I do need are like a shitty spotlight, which is like $40 on Amazon, and a few LED lights, which are once again like less than $40 on Amazon, and some other things.
Don't get the cheap ones on Amazon. If I can offer you a piece of advice there, I got the newer brand ones off of Amazon, and they go on sale from time to time. You can get a kit with 3 of them that come with a remote control.
Oh, yes.
That allows you to adjust the intensity and the color. If you get the 2 bulb ones that have like 600 lights in each one, and you get 3 of them, so you can set up a good flood in the room. But if you get the cheap ones, you literally have the lights so close to you, they don't have the intensity, they don't have that, and you can't put a filter on them. Like mine will have the what do you call them? The flood filter or whatever. Diffusers. Yeah.
Diffusers, right.
Diffuser on the other lights. You literally have to have them inches from your head in order to get the intensity that the good lights have. They're not cheap. They come with a great stand. They come with the covers are cheap for them. And there's a few different brands out there that are the same level. But if you're spending less than that, you're going to spend way too much time adjusting and tweaking your lighting.
Yeah, which I don't want to do. But send me a link, David. You could send me a link to that.
I will, yeah.
Get it over to me on Twitter. And
anyone else who has great lighting and good ideas in this, like Jason probably does, and some others. Oh, you should ask the girlfriend. She knows everything.
Oh, well, she does. We actually saw the video together, and we were both saying, yeah, I think I'm smart enough to do this. This seems pretty simplistic. To tell you the truth.
Andy, what did we talk about?
Oh, okay. All right. Okay.
You make great content. Everybody loves it.
Okay. So what's also a really simple device, like I said, another $30 or $40 device is one of those projectors. So instead of relying on videos to overlay an image, it would just be the projector, and it's a different kind of quality. There's all these little tricks that I'm looking forward to playing around with too.
Overlay an image? What do you mean?
Well, the thing is with a projector, and if you've seen the Bo Burnham special, there are some points that there is a projected image in the background as well as on him at the same time, and the effect.
Oh yeah, okay.
Freaking sublime! It is a sublime effect, and it's like, yeah, I can do that. That's easy to do, actually.
But you have to get a pretty decent quality projector and a pretty decent quality screen behind you.
It's like $40, and you can do it on the wall behind you. Believe it or not. You haven't seen the special, brother. You see the special, and you go, "Oh wow!" So that's what you can do on the cheap. And also, I have a wall too. I actually have a blank. A
white wall. Yeah.
Well, it's the kitchen table's by it right now.
Oh, okay.
In theory, I could move the kitchen table.
I've used projectors in the past that were like full HDMI projectors just to do like karaoke and stuff, or have the kids watch a movie. And the quality of the projector and the quality of the screen makes a difference. Yeah. I mean, if you're just looking for, using an image to kind of create a mood with color and intensity, you can get away with almost anything. But if you're actually putting up an image that you want people to see.
Yeah. Well, this is the thing. Thank you for the suggestion. The thing is with comedy, right, is that a lot of the time you only have, especially when you're doing a video, you're only doing shots for 5 seconds or less.
Yeah.
And so I think you can cheat a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. Yeah, I live in a place with walls. That is correct. So really, when you talk about the stuff that I'm playing around with or experimenting on, it's probably the edited content at this point.
Yeah.
And of course, working. Of course, I've just been doing a lot. I'm looking to expand my hours. And so that will, I'm sure, create a whole bunch of interesting, and shouldn't create scheduling conflicts either with this show. That's what I've been also prioritizing. So I might have to cut down, like on Thursdays, I can only do a half an hour here. But otherwise, my workday starts at noontime or 12:30 and goes from there.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's good that your life can be flexible. I mean, I'm sure you could always have started this an hour earlier if need be, or adjusted your schedule. But it's nice that you have the ability to make it work the way with what you're doing there.
Well, let me tell you what my superpower is, Dave, and chat and everyone. My superpower is poverty.
I've heard this before.
My superpower is poverty, and so I mean, the thing is, I don't need a lot to live on. And I can do the work that I do, which is very meaningful to me, but I'm not really bound by a 9-to-5 schedule. So, and that's the benefit of being poor, is that I can kind of pick and choose a lot of things.
It's too bad you're vegetarian, or I could, offer you some bunny kebab.
Oh yeah. 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 I think about meat. I think about eating meat. Sure. I'm going to be coming up to my our year anniversary of gone vegetarian in August. So,
was this a couples project sort of thing that you guys did?
It really was, yeah, because my girlfriend had been a vegetarian for a while when she was younger, and once again, it came up about, and my kids thought this was an odd choice for me, because they just think I'm an asshole, to tell you the truth. Because they're 12 teenagers. And it's like, yeah, I'm really into this because I want to limit the suffering in the world. And they're like, really? It's like, yeah, really? I'm not just about inflicting pain through comedy onto people. I want to, not create more suffering.
If your kids are that smart, at some point they're going to say, so you want to limit suffering, right, Dad? Yeah. Can I have $100? It would limit my suffering.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I've clearly failed with my children. They're broken. My kids couldn't give a shit about anyone else or the world, or the state of the world. If it's not on the Xbox,
oh right.
maybe if I could somehow get a video game that gets them to understand there's a world outside of the virtual one.
Well, my son, who's now 19, I had a lot of struggle with him, and the same thing. His smartphone, his Xbox, the whole 9 yards. Um, now that he's 19, he's in the world. He does have to work, so he interacts with people. But yeah, he's still, unlike his dad, totally okay with interacting with people.
Well, if he's like mine, it's only because he has to.
Yeah. You know what's interesting, and this is one of the issues I've been reflecting on over the weekend, is that as I'm integrating back into society, right, with COVID not being over, it's just a different phase, but engaging with my birth family and just continuing dealing with my kids, it's like I think that and I've gone through this, and we were talking about it before on Friday, about just the necessity of eating shit sandwiches, right, of just accepting that there's always going to be a fair amount of static between me and the people around me, and the girlfriend and I. There's like minimal. There's like no. It's a very good relationship. But as I look at other people, like my kids and my birth, family, it's like, yeah, I'm just gonna have to tolerate stuff that I'm not used to tolerating.
Well, only seeing each other for 2 minutes a day in the morning helps. And also, thank you for not using post-COVID.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, when I read that WHO article, the World Health Organization article, I'm like, oh yeah. So yeah, it's post-COVID is a misnomer. That it's an incorrect term.
Well, I thought we were cool here in Australia, but I'm masked up again. We've had a little outbreak in Sydney, and it's heading north towards me. So we're not locked down yet, but we're masks on again. Limited visitors and all that sort of stuff. And we're on an island, and somehow we've even got the latest Delta, is it?
No, the Delta variant, yeah.
But obviously, we've still got to let food come in and produce and all that sort of stuff.
Sure.
And I suppose that's where it comes from.
Yeah,
we don't have domestic. We have domestic flights. Sorry, we don't have international flights yet. Still,
okay.
Except for international Australians that we're still bringing home since this started, which is crazy.
Yeah.
And from hotspots too, India and.
Oh yeah. Well, India is still going crazy. People, unless you're actually looking at India particularly, there's so much of the other noise in the news cycle, and Brazil for that matter. People just forget that the COVID is still burning through those countries.
And how's America going?
Officially, well, of course, the unvaccinated areas are getting more COVID than the vaccinated areas. That being said, there is the perception that things are back to normal again here.
Are the numbers still crazy, but up to 8 million, I think, dead?
Well, here in the States, the official total is 600,000.
So it's 8 million worldwide.
Yeah, 8 million worldwide. The amount officially is over 600,000, but and to give people a perspective, that's more than people who died in World War II, right? That's more than the amount of Americans who died in World War II. That's much more than the amount of Americans who died in World War I. And that's probably somewhat equal. And this just gives you a perspective on how bloody the Civil War was. It's about the same amount of the people who died in the Civil War, give or take.
But Andy, people die of the flu every year.
Oh, you did it. You did it.
I had to.
People die of the flu.
But Andy, some of those people were old or sick, or they were going to die anyway.
They were going to die. That's right. They were just, yeah. Why wear masks at all? Why, once again, that article about the World Health Organization about, vaccines aren't going to stop things. Just vaccines alone. That's
No.
not going to stop the crisis.
I just have to remember that everyone's going to die eventually.
I like your glib and bright-eyed attitude, Grant.
Oh, are we down to the tummy rub already?
Wow, man, we're getting closer now. The thing is, and I'll say this, is that when especially when younger people say things like, yeah, you got to die anyway, it's like, I don't think you've really seen people die a lot. Because if you've seen people die a lot, you'll know that it isn't the actual death that's the really bad part. It's the wind up to that. It is the suffering that goes on amongst the really ill and that's the horrible part right there.
The Clockwork Rex wrote, the summer heat will kill it. Well, if that's a true thing, we are doing the test right now in the Lower Mainland, and there will be no COVID here anymore because all the grass is brown and all the people are exhausted.
I just want to pop back to what Theo was saying. I would say I care about people, environment, animal suffering, but not to the point of becoming a vegetarian or vegan. But I respect it. Yeah, everyone has to make their choices about whether they're going to be a vegetarian or vegan, whatever. I don't cast shade. That's what I do. I don't cast shade on people.
I think one of the really cool things that I've experienced in the last few years, I was dating someone who was vegetarian, and everybody who's vegetarian has different things that they will or won't eat or whatever. Like some vegetarians won't eat cheese, some won't eat fish, some won't eat different things. But one of the things that was really cool about meeting her and spending time with her was she exposed me to some really good food that didn't have meat in it. So yeah, I don't mind eating vegetarian, and I even prepare non-meat dinners and lunches and enjoy them immensely. They're as good as any other food. It's like, there was it reminds me of, there was a church mission thing years and years ago, and they were helping this family, and the woman who went was, they talked about her because she had these gaudy Costalots on. Like she had way too much jewelry to be somebody on a mission to another place that was relatively destitute. And these people were talking about how they would sneak over to the adjacent farms and steal food, like corn and whatever they were growing there. And they would sustain themselves, and they would have to steal food. And sometimes they'd get caught and bad things happened. And, and you're in a third world country and you're stealing food off somebody's farm, you can get killed pretty easily. So, and her response to that was, "Oh, you're vegetarian," and they have no idea what vegetarian is.
I'm a vegetarian, but I eat beef. I don't know. All right, so we're getting down to the hour. I'm gonna have to check out in a couple of minutes. Any last thoughts, anyone?
Best meal I've ever had was vegetarian. I think they may have used tofu, but it was a pasta, some sort of pasta dish, just incredible. I was young and very stoned, so it may have been the munchies. But yeah, so I've never been adverse to it, and I've always tried it. The thing is, I hate vegetables, so it has to be, a stir fry or pasta or something that it's all mixed in.
Right.
And if I can throw in a little food for thought at the end. Animals in the wild, if they find, like if a pride of lions find an animal that they find rather delicious and easy to kill, they will kill and eat all of them one at a time over a period of time until those animals no longer exist. And they will do that over and over and over in the animal kingdom until those species no longer exist. So my theory is the most delicious animals died more than 10,000 years ago because all of the critters that were on Earth were eating all the delicious ones first. And now, even though we love beef and we think, oh, beef tastes great and a good steak or a peppercorn or whatever your thing is, a filet mignon, it's nowhere near as delicious as the animals that existed before.
It's a woolly mammoth.
You're making a good argument for time travel there, Dave.
Exactly, right? Go back 100,000 years and taste some things.
Okay. All right. On that note, I got to go. Thanks, chat,
Thanks for having us, Andy.
being here. Oh, yeah. Always a pleasure. Going to be doing the same crazy thing tomorrow at 9 a.m. Take care, everyone.
Hooroo.